Most men think a hug is harmless. That's why they miss the moment it silently decides whether she feels safe or secretly drawn to you. I'm going to say something uncomfortable, and I want you to stay with me. As a psychologist, I've watched men sabotage attraction not with their words, not with their looks, but with a single hug that told a woman everything she needed to know about them. A hug is not just contact, it is information. It tells her how you see yourself. It tells her how you see her. And most importantly, it tells her whether her nervous system relaxes or closes. Women don't experience touch the way men do. For a man, a hug is often physical and simple. For a woman, a hug is emotional data moving straight into her subconscious. Her body is asking questions faster than her mind can keep up. Is he grounded? Is he present? Is he trying to take something from me? Or is he comfortable simply being here? Before she ever decides if she wants you, her body decides if it trusts you. And trust is the soil where attraction grows. Here's the truth most men were never taught. Attraction doesn't start when you pull her closer. It starts when she feels she doesn't need to protect herself around you. That feeling is rare. And because it's rare, it's magnetic. Let me explain something important. The human nervous system is designed to detect threat and safety instantly. When you hug a woman, her body scans you in milliseconds. Your breathing, your muscle tension, your timing, your intention. If you rush, squeeze, linger too long, or hesitate awkwardly, her body reads uncertainty or hunger. And hunger is not attractive. Hunger feels unsafe. Men who trigger secret attraction do something very different. They don't hug to get something. They hug because they are already complete, and that changes everything. Most men hug like they're asking a question. Do you like me? Attractive men hug like they're making a statement. I'm here. You're safe. Feel the difference. When a hug comes from need, her body tightens. When a hug comes from presence, her body softens. And softness is where attraction hides. Now listen carefully, because this is where many men get confused. Triggering attraction does not mean being aggressive or dominant in a crude way. It means being emotionally regulated, calm, grounded, certain. Women are biologically wired to respond to men whose nervous systems feel stable, not loud, not forceful, stable. Think about this. Have you ever been hugged by someone who felt anxious? Even if they were kind, something felt off. Your shoulders didn't fully relax. Your breath stayed shallow. That's what women feel when a man hugs from insecurity. Even if she smiles, her body remembers. A powerful hug begins before your arms even move. It begins in your chest and your breath. If your breathing is shallow, fast, or tense, she feels it. If your breath is slow and deep, her body starts to mirror it without her realizing. This is not manipulation. This is biology. The biggest mistake men make is believing attraction is something you do to a woman. It's not. Attraction is something she experiences inside herself in response to how you make her feel in your presence. And touch amplifies that feeling instantly. Here's something I tell my male clients that changes everything. When you hug a woman, don't focus on her reaction. Focus on your own state. If you are calm, grounded, and unhurried, her body will respond. If you are seeking validation, her body will resist. And resistance doesn't always look like rejection. Sometimes it looks like politeness. Sometimes it looks like friendliness with no depth. Sometimes it looks like being just a nice guy. But underneath, attraction never ignited. Women don't fall for men who try to impress them with touch. They fall for men whose touch feels intentional and contained, a man who knows when to move closer and when not to. This is why timing matters more than pressure. A hug that comes too early feels invasive. A hug that comes too late feels disconnected. The sweet spot is when emotional comfort already exists, when conversation has settled, when silence feels easy. That's when touch becomes powerful. And let me say this clearly because it matters for your self-respect. If a woman doesn't feel comfortable hugging you, that's not a failure. It's feedback. It's information. Forcing closeness never creates desire. Respecting her space builds it. The men who consistently trigger attraction are not chasing moments. They are creating emotional safety. They are listening more than pushing. They are present rather than performative. And when they do hug, it feels natural, not strategic. Here's the paradox most men don't understand. The less you use touch to prove yourself, the more powerful your touch becomes, because it no longer feels like a request, it feels like an invitation. The first rule you must understand is this: the hug must come from stillness, not momentum. Most men hug while moving. They step in quickly, wrap their arms, squeeze, release, and step back. To a woman's nervous system, that feels rushed. It feels like something done to her, not something shared with her. And anything rushed signals impatience or anxiety, even if you don't mean it that way. Attraction lives in pauses. Safety lives in pauses. When you hug from stillness, her body has time to register you, time to relax, time to open. Before your arms even lift, you slow down. Your feet are planted. Your shoulders are relaxed. Your breath drops into your chest instead of staying trapped in your throat. This is not acting. This is regulating yourself. And when you regulate yourself, her body unconsciously follows. A powerful hug begins with space, not distance. Space. You don't invade it. You don't hesitate nervously either. You simply allow a beat. That beat tells her, I am aware of you. It tells her you're not impulsive. You're intentional. Men often fear that pausing will make things awkward. In reality, the opposite happens. That pause creates tension, but the good kind. Anticipation. Presence. Her body leans in before her mind decides to. Here's something important. Women are far more sensitive to micro movements than men. The angle of your torso, the speed of your arms, the firmness of your hands. These details speak louder than words. When a hug feels sudden, her body prepares to defend. When it feels gradual, her body prepares to receive. The second rule is about pressure, and this is where many men get it wrong. They either hug too lightly, like they're afraid, or too tightly, like they're claiming something. Both send the wrong signal. Too light feels uncertain. Too tight feels controlling. The correct pressure feels steady, not squeezing, not collapsing, just present. Think of it as containment, not grip. Your arms aren't pulling her in. They're holding space around her. This signals confidence without dominance, care without need. A woman's body relaxes when she feels she can leave at any moment. Paradoxically, that freedom is what makes her want to stay. When a hug feels like a trap, attraction dies quietly. When it feels like a choice, attraction grows. Notice your hands. Men underestimate how much information hands communicate. If your hands fidget, grab, or slide restlessly, her body notices. Calm hands tell her you are comfortable with intimacy. Calm hands tell her you are not trying to extract something from her. Now let's talk about duration, because this matters more than most men realize. A hug that's too short feels empty. A hug that's too long feels intrusive. The sweet spot is when you release just before she expects you to. Why? Because her body is still opening when you let go. That unfinished feeling lingers. Her nervous system remembers it, and memory is where attraction quietly deepens. Men often wait for her to pull away. That puts her in control of ending the moment, which subtly shifts the dynamic. When you release calmly, without rush and without clinging, you communicate self-assurance. You're not afraid of closeness, and you're not afraid of letting go. This is a psychological signal that goes straight into her subconscious. This man is emotionally abundant. Now, the third rule is subtle but powerful. It's about alignment. When you hug, your chest should meet hers naturally. Not forced, not angled away. Angling away signals discomfort. Forcing closeness signals hunger. Natural alignment signals ease. Your posture matters here. If you hunch, she feels your insecurity. If you puff up, she feels performance. Neutral, upright posture feels grounded. It tells her your body is a safe place to rest for a moment. And here's something few men are ever told. Silence during a hug is not awkward to a woman. It's reassuring. You don't need to say anything. Words pull her back into her head. Silence allows her to stay in her body. And attraction lives in the body, not in analysis. If you whisper something, keep it minimal and sincere. But understand this: most of the time, saying nothing is more powerful than saying something clever. The final rule in this part is about exit energy. How you leave the hug matters as much as how you enter it. If you pull away quickly and look down, it feels apologetic. If you linger with your eyes searching for validation, it feels needy. Instead, you release smoothly, maintain relaxed eye contact for a brief moment, and move on naturally. No checking her reaction, no waiting for approval. That non-attachment is what creates space for desire. Here's the truth men rarely hear. Women don't crave men who want them intensely. They crave men who can handle intensity without losing themselves. A grounded hug shows her you can be close without becoming overwhelmed. When a woman feels that, something shifts inside her. She may not label it attraction right away, but her body remembers. And later, when she thinks of you, she won't remember what you said. She'll remember how calm she felt in your arms. There is one mistake that kills attraction faster than almost anything else, and most men make it without realizing it. They hug while emotionally leaning in, not physically, emotionally, and a woman's body can feel that weight instantly. Emotional leaning is when your hug carries a silent request. Reassure me, approve of me, stay with me. Even if you never say these words, your body transmits them. Your shoulders tense, your arms hold a fraction too long, your breath waits for her response, and her nervous system receives the message clearly: this man needs something from me. Attraction cannot grow where obligation is felt. Women are not repelled by emotion. They are repelled by emotional pressure. There is a difference. A grounded man can feel deeply without asking a woman to carry his emotional state. When your hug is emotionally self-contained, she can relax into it. When it's emotionally dependent, she has to brace herself. Here's how you prevent that without becoming cold or distant. You stay internally full. That means you don't use the hug to regulate yourself. You arrive already regulated. The hug becomes an expression, not a repair. Most men were never taught how to self-regulate emotionally, so they unconsciously outsource it to women through touch, attention, and validation. This is why so many men feel confused when women pull away, even though they were nice and affectionate. The affection carried weight. Let me make this very clear. Women are incredibly intuitive about emotional load. They sense when touch is asking them to give more than they're ready to give. And when that happens, attraction doesn't explode. It quietly leaks away. Now let's talk about eye contact before and after the hug, because this is where attraction either locks in or dissolves. Avoiding eye contact before a hug signals uncertainty. Staring too intensely signals hunger. The balance is relaxed awareness. You see her. You're not searching her face for permission or reassurance. You're simply present. After the hug, eye contact should be brief and calm. This moment is powerful. If you rush away, it feels dismissive. If you linger too long, it feels demanding. A soft, steady look communicates confidence and emotional maturity. Then you move on. This sends a deep message. I enjoy connection, but I don't cling to it. The next piece is about breath synchronization. This is subtle, but it's one of the strongest biological mechanisms for creating felt connection. When two people breathe together, their nervous systems align. You don't force this. You allow it. If your breath is slow and deep, her breath naturally adjusts. If your breath is shallow and held, her body stays guarded. You don't need to think about it during the hug. You prepare beforehand by calming yourself. Here's a practice I give to men who struggle with intimacy. Before any physical contact, take one slow breath through your nose and exhale fully through your mouth. This resets your nervous system. When you hug from that state, everything changes. Another attraction killer is telegraphing expectation after the hug. Many men unconsciously change their behavior, tone, or posture afterward, as if waiting for a reward. That shift is noticeable. It feels transactional. Attraction thrives in emotional generosity. You give the hug freely, and then you release the moment completely. You don't look for signs. You don't adjust your mood based on her reaction. That emotional independence is deeply attractive because it signals inner security. Now, I want to address something important and ethical. Triggering attraction through touch is not about pushing boundaries. It's about respecting them so fully that her body chooses closeness on its own. Consent is not just verbal, it's nervous system consent. And when you are attuned, you feel it. If a woman stiffens, leans away, or doesn't reciprocate, you stop. No analysis, no ego. You simply return to conversation or space. That respect builds trust, even if attraction isn't immediate. And trust often precedes desire. Here's something counterintuitive. The men who create the strongest attraction are often the least focused on attraction itself. They are focused on presence, on how they show up, on being grounded, warm, and self-contained. A hug, in this sense, becomes a mirror. It reflects back to her what it feels like to be with you. If being with you feels calm, she will crave it. If being with you feels heavy, she will avoid it, even if she can't explain why. And this leads to the final insight in this part. You cannot fake this. Women's bodies are not fooled by technique alone. If you are anxious, resentful, or seeking approval, it will leak through your touch. The work is internal before it's physical. That doesn't mean you need to be perfect. It means you need to be honest with yourself. Build a life where you feel grounded without needing constant validation. Develop emotional resilience. Learn to enjoy connection without attaching your worth to the outcome. When you do that, your hugs stop being questions. They become experiences. Here is where everything comes together, and I want you to listen slowly. Because this is not just about hugging a woman. This is about the kind of man you are becoming when you touch the world without needing it to give you something back. When a man masters these rules, something quiet but profound changes. He no longer uses touch to create value. His presence is the value, and women feel that immediately. Not as excitement at first, but as curiosity, safety, a sense of depth they can't quite explain. A hug done right doesn't create fireworks, it creates gravity. Gravity is what makes her think of you later. Gravity is what makes her relax around you. Gravity is what makes her lean in emotionally over time because her body has learned that being near you feels good, calm, and steady. Most men chase sparks. Sparks are loud and brief. Gravity is silent and lasting. When you hug from stillness, grounded pressure, emotional self-containment, and clean exit energy, you are communicating something very rare. I don't need to rush intimacy. I can handle it. That message goes deeper than desire. It touches a woman's sense of trust. And trust is the gateway to real attraction, not surface-level interest. Let me tell you something from years of clinical work. Women don't open their hearts to the most confident men. They open to the most regulated men. The men whose nervous systems don't spike when things get close, the men who don't tighten when affection appears, the men who don't collapse when it disappears. A hug reveals all of this in seconds. And here's the part men often miss. When you hug this way, you change too. You stop chasing reactions, you stop scanning for approval, you stop needing to win moments, you start enjoying connection for what it is, not for what it promises. That internal shift makes you more attractive than any technique ever could, because now you're not trying to trigger attraction, you're allowing it. Women are drawn to men who are at ease with their own power, not dominance, not control. Power that is quiet, stable, and intentional. A hug becomes an extension of that power. Calm arms, steady breath, no rush, no need. And when a woman feels that, her body responds before her mind catches up. Now I want to be clear about something important. These rules are not about guaranteeing attraction from every woman. No healthy dynamic works that way. These rules are about showing up in a way that allows attraction to exist when it can. And when it can't, you walk away with your dignity intact. That alone puts you ahead of most men. Because desperate men try harder. Grounded men attract effortlessly. When a woman hugs you and feels safe, relaxed and unpressured, something happens later, often hours or days later. Her body remembers the calm, and in a world full of noise, calm becomes addictive. She may not text you immediately. She may not say anything obvious, but when she thinks of you, her shoulders drop, her breath slows, and that's when attraction begins to grow quietly. This is why trying less often does more. The deepest attraction isn't built through intensity, it's built through consistency of emotional safety. And a hug is one of the fastest ways to communicate that safety when done right. Now, I want to ask you something personal, not a generic question, but one that reveals where you are in your growth. Here's the equation I want you to answer honestly in the comments. When you hug a woman, are you trying to feel chosen, or are you allowing her to feel safe? There is no right or wrong answer, but the truth of it will change how women experience you from this moment forward. If this video made you see touch, attraction, and yourself differently, press like so more men hear this message. Subscribe if you want more psychological truths that most men were never taught. And share this with a friend who keeps wondering why he's doing everything right, but still feels unseen. Sometimes, the smallest moments carry the biggest truths.